Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm the high school pastor here. If this is your first time, I want to say an extra special welcome to you to Res Life, and we're talking about something really cool tonight. So I'm excited to introduce Susan, who's hanging out here over here by her computer. She is are you ready for it? Neurotherapist, which I think means brain therapy-ish. Okay, she'll talk to you about that in a minute, but she's been working with students for a long, long, long time. And so she's here to kind of share what she nerds out about, and I've already heard it once. It's amazing. So it blew my mind, like neurotherapy, I guess. Anyway, so welcome, Susan. Would you welcome her warmly?
Thank you. Okay, so your job tonight is to be better than the middle school. We already are. Whoa. Those people have some energy. And I have a little bit of swag, too. Anybody want a brain? Not that much swag. You're like, I will use your name. All the neglected. I'm out. Okay, you're welcome. I'm now done. No, I'm just kidding. If you did not get a brain, I'm super sorry. I still love and care about you. Now remember, your job is to be better than the middle schoolers. Show me. Okay, so I heard you guys talking a whole lot about anxiety and that you guys are in a talk about that at the moment. We're going to talk about the influence of these digital screens that are staring at us, and some of you are looking at them at the moment and understand that. So we're talking about how we're created for connection. And I'm going to talk to you about brain stuff because that's what I do. Right? So you're going to know a lot, but we're going to start, before we talk about brains, we're going to talk about little kid stories because I love little kid stories. So this is a little story called You Are Special by Max Lucado. And it's about these little wooden people. They're Wemmicks. And their job is to go around all day long and give each other stars if they do great and dots if they don't. Sometimes you just get dots because you have dots. I don't know if you've had that experience before. Punchinello, the little sad wooden guy over there that's getting all the dots, he didn't do much right. He gets a lot of things wrong. He gets a lot of dots, and he feels about himself like somebody who gets a lot of dots stuck to him. And one day, he's going around feeling bad about himself, and he meets Lucia. And what's different about Lucia? She doesn't have dots or stars, right? And he's very confused about this at the beginning. He goes, he doesn't know if it's good because she doesn't have any dots or bad because she doesn't have any stars. And so he asks her, and she goes, oh, they try to give them to me all the time. Well, why don't you have any? Because they don't stick. Well, why don't they stick? Because every day I go see our creator, the wood carver, Eli. He lives over on the hill. Okay, so I got this book because my son's named Eli, and so somebody gave it to me. But I do not think that my son is God. But I do like the name Eli. So he gets the courage enough because he actually, you feel bad about yourself, and so he didn't really want to go in front of his creator, but he decided to try it out. And his creator, of course, picks him up, and he looks at him in the eyes, and he says, I'm so glad you came, Punchinello. I love you. If you get nothing else from this entire talk, if you are out the rest of the time and you're like mad you didn't get a squishy brain, the only thing you get is your creator loves you intimately and deeply, regardless of the dots. We're golden. But I'm still going to tell you cool brain stuff. So he notices the dots, and he speaks to them, and he goes, looks like you got a lot of dots, Punchinello. And he goes, I try really hard. I just don't think I'm a very good wooden person. And he says, my very favorite line in the entire book, he goes, Punchinello, who are they to give you stars or dots? They're just little wooden people like me, like you. He goes, come hang out with me. come to my woodshop until what I think about you is more important than what they think about you. And he does. And over time, the dots, they start to not stick. You guys have it harder than we did. I was like Punchinello in the clumsy way. I'm really good at being clumsy. My maiden name was Kunkel. They might have called me Clunkle. Clumsy Clunkle, because I was really good at falling down. It was like a spiritual gift or ungift, I don't know. But what I didn't have was anybody taking a video of it. I didn't have anybody taking a picture of it. I didn't have anybody sharing it. Nobody made a meme out of it. Didn't go on any social media because it didn't exist. Now, you might think it's just different now. It's just the way it is. But I'm a researcher. And what I know is it's not just the way it is. It would be okay if it was just a difference. But what we're noticing is there's an increase in all the stuff we don't want with all of the media world that we live in. There's more anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, suicidal actions, loneliness, and feeling left out. So I find it really interesting that the more we have these glowing screens lighting up our faces in the dark, that we are feeling more lonely and more left out. And I wonder if maybe it's because we're connected to the wrong things. So you're at youth group in a church. What do I think I want you to connect to? There it is. It's really easy to get good answers in here. Yep, Jesus. So what is the thing we're supposed to do the most? Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, and your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. The second one is like it, love your neighbors as yourselves. Connect to others. And you might be like, lady, you just said that the more we connect to people on these things, the worse things are. So is it one way or the other? What is it? Because you are here. But if you're here and you have your phone and you have not been able to resist looking at it, or if you're like, maybe I'm going to take a picture of this slide, and then you bring out your phone and you see all the stuff, see all the missed notifications. Then all of a sudden you have these different thoughts in your head that you didn't have before. You open up your phone and it shows you something interesting or something anxiety producing if it's like somebody's mad at you and something's going on social media. So 45% of teens say that they're online almost constantly. It averages 9 hours a day, not school related. And it leads to a thing called continuous partial attention. So if you're here and your phone does anything at all, like you chose for it to, or it made a noise, or you pulled it out, let's say you wanted to take a picture of, and then you pull out your phone and you see 45 missed notifications, 97, 112, whatever, it schedules ideas in your mind. So now all of a sudden you're not just connected to God and to others, you're connected to all the social media world that was doing stuff. Or you get all of these other ideas. Here are the things that I missed. All of a sudden, your attention is shattered. It takes a toll on your brain. It actually makes it harder for you to focus on things. And it makes homework harder and all kinds of things I don't actually have time to go into. So here's my challenge. This is the thing that I want you to think about. I want you to think about coming here for 4 weeks without this. Right? This is what I want you to think about. I want you to think about leaving it in your car or leaving it at home. And here's why I say 4 weeks. Now, there's my family. If I say 4 weeks, because the first week, you're not going to like it. And the second week, you really might not like it. By the time you get to 4, you'll have some observations on what I was able to learn or how I was able to interact with people that was different than. I would like it to be, if you come to church regularly, not inside a church building for 4 weeks. Now, you can bring like a physical journal or an actual physical Bible. That would be interesting. I want you to just see what you notice. Now, I heard an audible like reaction when I said the 4 weeks. So here's another challenge, is to take it next level with Bible stuff. If when people ask you to get off a device, if you think about leaving it someplace else, if your mom or dad says you can't take it into your bedroom because I already told them that, and you have a reaction that's either an anger reaction or an anxiety reaction, here's what I want you to think about. Romans 6:16 says, don't you realize that grace frees you to choose your own master, but choose carefully, for you surrender yourself to become a servant, bound to the one that you choose to obey. Put another way, what you toy with will eventually make you its toy. And you guys have access to things that may already be in control of you. You probably didn't set out to be controlled. But if you cannot think about putting this thing down for an hour or two or overnight, it is in control of you. And I want you to think about that. Now, brain stuff. Here's some of the why. The reason I'm saying all this is not just because I want you to be retro 1985 or something like that. It's because I want you to be protected against depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation. This is what I know, is that the more that you get some space, the more protected your brain is. This little thing, the nucleus accumbens, is kind of that red, triangle-y, weird shape. That's like a hub, like a hub for an airport where everything kind of goes in and out of it. So it's really important. You mess this thing up, the whole brain gets messed up. So it's supposed to give you little shots of stuff called dopamine when things happen good or when something new happens. What happens when you look at a phone, get notifications, see a new video, play too much video games, and you get all this stuff, is that you get a ton of that. That dopamine that you're supposed to get every once in a while, you get constantly. And your brain was not made to do it. It's not a difference thing. It doesn't work differently now just because you've had them for a while. It was not made to do that. So you get too much and your brain goes, whoa, I cannot process this. And it literally stops processing the stuff that makes you feel good. And then you end up in depression land, a thing called anhedonia, which is everything is blah. And you get bored very easily. So if you turn off a screen and very quickly go, I'm bored, you kind of got a jacked up nucleus accumbens, and I'm going to tell you how to fix it too. When you're bored is super good for your brain. And I know it doesn't sound very fun, but it is ridiculously protective for your brain. In order to create things, to imagine the future, to remember stuff, and to understand how other people are feeling, you need this network to come on called the default mode network. It's a loose organization of things in your brain. It only happens when you're not doing something. And binge watching Netflix or watching Hulu or watching YouTube, that's doing something as far as your brain is concerned. So literally just kind of allowing boredom allows your brain to downshift, calm down. But if you're already dealing with depression or anxiety, when you do that, what you know is, when things get quiet, things get bad in my head. I picture some really bad stuff. So there is actually this treasure map that God put in the Bible that's really, really cool, and this is the stuff I geek out on. There's a whole science called neurotheology, and it looks at how the Bible and brains work together. It's kind of cool. He put this verse in Philippians 4:6-7. It says, don't be anxious about anything, but by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God that transcends all understanding will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Okay, so lots of words. What's it mean, and why are they different colors? The cool thing about this is that all of the things in different colors literally lights up a different part of your brain that protects your brain against depression, anxiety, and trauma. And it helps repair your brain if any of that stuff is on board. So praying, petitioning is like continuing to do it, so repetition, making new habits. Thanksgiving actually repairs the nucleus accumbens. So when you start going, okay, I'm grateful for heat. And you can start with the stupid stuff, like thank you that the lights turn on when I turn on the lights. Thank you that the car started. Thank you that I have gas money. That kind of stuff literally changes your brain. And it gives peace. But you got to practice it, which means you have to connect. Connecting to God and having time to connect to yourself, to know your own thoughts, is really important. So, praying. Keeping a journal where you write down things that you're thankful for is really helpful. If you go into a dark phase and you can get it out and you can read it, you might not believe it, but over time it will help your brain get better. Reading the Bible or doing a teen devotional, that stuff can all protect your brain. But you got to have space and time to do that. So how do we do space and time? You got to have some no phone zones. And this is all the stuff that I told any of the parents that showed up. They all got the same thing. I don't want phones in bedrooms because sleep is one of the most important things that guards you against suicidal ideation. People who are suicidal, one of the biggest things that they talk about is sleep problems. And you guys will say to your parents, I only use my phone as an alarm or because I need to listen to music to go to sleep. And 80% of you will wake up for every notification. Or you'll worry about your friend who's having a problem that texts you at 3 o'clock in the morning and you feel like you need to be available for them. It's more pressure than we had to deal with, and it's more pressure than what you need. Your brain develops more during adolescence than any other time since you were 18 months old. It's going into an adult brain, and it only does that during sleep. So if you want your brain to be, adult, you have to sleep. The other place is in the bathroom. There is no way that in any place where you are used to being naked, should you have a camera and access to the entire world. No, you still make really dumb decisions. Intermittently, maybe often, but often behind closed doors and really at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I had a policeman in Overland Park that I was working with in cyber crimes, and he said 98% of the times that he has to come into a home and take your phone or your device is something that happened at 3 o'clock in the morning in a bathroom or bedroom. And if you guys are sexting, just to get real uncomfortable real fast, if you receive an image that's not illegal, if you then send it out, it is distribution of child pornography, and it is a crime if the person whose picture you have is under 18. So it's good information to know. So no cameras or phones in bathrooms or bedrooms. Not while you're driving, because I would like to be safe. I would like you to be safe. I'd like my kids to be safe. And I want you to connect with the people that are around you. So if you're in the car, like even with your parents, it'd be good to not be zoning out and watching videos. Maybe actually have a conversation. And during meals as well. Because I want you to practice being with the people you are with. And it might be hard, and you might have sibling rivalry and all of that stuff, but it's still protective for your brain because the world, it can give you a lot of dots. And you can be going along okay, and then it's just not okay. When things not okay happen, what happens in your brain is a thing called cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. And when you get cortisol, God gave you a thing that eats the cortisol. It's called oxytocin. It's really cool. When you get something in your world that's stressful, you get this little inkling that says, turn towards somebody. Reach out, connect. If you then do that, that little bit of oxytocin grows into a huge thing of oxytocin, and its job is to eat the cortisol. Physiologically, it takes your brain back down to normal. But here's the thing you have to know, because our brains have not changed that much since we've gotten these phones. If you turn towards a screen, you don't get oxytocin. It does not make the cortisol go down. Neither does texting or messaging people. So I know it's nice to connect. It's fine to connect over text messaging. But if you're feeling awful, then that's not the time to connect for texting. It's the time to see somebody face to face. So only if you see them, if you touch them, or if you hear their voice, does the oxytocin work in your body. So your stress level, you might feel better, but your stress level in your brain will remain exactly the same if you just reach out via text message. And one of the theories about all this depression and anxiety, the fact that people are talking less, they're texting more. I've been a therapist for a really, really, really long time, since 97. When I started doing therapy with teenagers in 97, they would talk about talking to their friends. And then in about 2000, they would talk about texting or talking to their friends. So they'd be like, I had a fight with my friend, we were talking about this. Or I had a fight with my friend, we were texting about this. And then around 2005, 2007, it shifted where everybody used the word talk. And I would be like, talk with your voice or talk text? And they'd be like, text. Didn't used to be that way. The words changed. Talking with your voice does a different thing to your brain than reading a text message. It's different. So turning towards somebody and looking down at a screen with them, it's fun, it's fine, it's not harmful to ever look at something. I'm really not telling you to throw your phone away forever. I'm trying to tell you that connecting in real life, eyeball to eyeball, is better for protecting your brain. So here are my takeaways. I just want you to make sure that you have time to connect. I want you to connect to God. I want you to give yourself the gift of connecting to yourself. And I want you to be able to connect to others, to those around you. This whole thing started with Punchinello, who met somebody who didn't have stars or dots, who knew her creator. You guys can do that to the people around you who don't know as much as you might about truth. So you can help people, encourage one another, and build each other up. Show them how to connect to God or connect to Him yourself. He says in Isaiah, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will hold on to you with my righteous right hand. You do have a Father who loves you very much. And maybe if you connect to the truth, you let some of the dots fall off. The end. Thank you. So I think we have some question and answer time, and sometimes somebody comes up and says, hey, so now we have some question and answer time? So that's my cue.
So now we have some question and answer time. Sorry, my cues are off tonight, guys. All right. Any questions for Susan on what you heard? We just heard a lot. Any questions or maybe even just reactions? Whoa, way back there. Do
yes,
phone
if you
calls
hear,
give you cortisol?
If you hear a oxytocin, if you hear a voice, it does. Yeah.
Is there one back there? That's the same question. Other questions?
I'm saying FaceTime works too. They put it in police custody until they can process the case. They take everything off the phone. They can wipe it in ways that you have no idea what they can get to. They can get to all the things that are wiped. And they can timestamp it, which is why I said bathroom and bedroom at 3 o'clock in the morning. He can just go through the timestamps. And he's like, here's where it was, here's when it was. Yeah.
I'm going to repeat it so they can hear it. A certain amount of time for phone calls that would help your brain to overdose or to get that, what's it called?
Oxytocin. The big Pac-Man. How do we get the big Pac-Man? It happens really quickly if you hear the voice of someone you're connected to, like emotionally. And here's the interesting thing. If you're in a fight with your mom and you have a bad day and you hear her voice, it still gives it to you.
Ooh.
So you don't even have to be happy with her.
Who else? Yeah. A certain amount of time you recommend to be on a phone each day.
So it depends because there's a whole lot of things people are doing on their phones. So if it's social media, here's the research. 1 hour or less of social media doesn't tend to do much harmful to mental health. And then there's this wide range. So here's the deal. 5 hours or more, you're 70% likely to want to die, literally to be suicidal. 5 hours or more. 1 hour or less, it doesn't tend to happen. And then there's this real big wiggle room. So then it depends on your brain. So what I generally tell people is 2 hours or less if you don't have depression or anxiety seems relatively reasonable within those other rules about bathroom and bedroom and all of that. Welcome.
Other questions?
There's a lot of wiggly.
Back here?
There.
Okay, so from a parent perspective or even student perspective, what time should you put your phone away at night or re-engage in the morning?
Okay, so in general, you want the phone to go to bed before you do, and you want to wake up before the phone does. So that's my general rule. More specific, in order to actually get restorative sleep, it needs to be 45 minutes or an hour before you go to bed, which I know doesn't probably sound super doable. So here's the thing that I generally say. No gaming, no YouTube, no social media. If you want to text somebody, it's a little bit different as far as sleep goes. So 30 minutes before bed, screens are off, hard and fast rule. And then being up in the morning, about the same amount of time, unless you need your friend's help in getting dressed in the morning, because what are you wearing today? And that's real. That's real. That's very accurate.
And I asked Susan earlier for my own phone stuff because I fall asleep to my phone and wake up to my phone. Sorry. I'm working on it. But I asked her, I said, what would I do alternatively? Hey, guys, listen up. What would I do alternatively during the evening?
And I said, read an actual book. Read a real book. And here's the other weird thing about phones that I forgot to say, or about sleep that I forgot to say. The whole, like, I want to get it out of your bedroom, and you're like, but I really don't wake up for notifications, lady. It's really all of my other friends, not me. If it's in your room and off, your sleep is still less deep, less restorative than if it's out of your room. It's probably that continuous partial attention thing, but it might be some other stuff. We don't really know.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of alternatives, you said journal. What does that do to your brain to just kind of help connect with God?
It is so cool. I'm like, okay, there's an entire book in that. It's called Reading Brain in a Digital World. But when you journal and when you write, it actually puts more of the reality into your brain, and it puts it in a different additional part. So when you write physically, pen to paper, different parts of your brain light up, and it gets it more in there, for lack of like going into like a thesis. So it's really good to actually physically write stuff out.
Is it beneficial for your brain to put your phone away in class, in a pocket?
142% yes.
It's not what you were looking for, I don't think.
Like, I do this as in-services in schools, and I have another like 4 hours of data on that. So, yep.
Over here. Should we power off our phones in class or in bed when we're not using it? It's during sleep.
I do think that it's best because of some of the radiation that I'm also not getting into. It is best to power it off. I don't want you to use that as an excuse to get it into your bedroom, like I'm powering it off. That needs to be like in the kitchen. But during school, you're actually going to learn more if it's not even on you. Because if it's on you, continuous partial attention goes, what's going on in my pocket? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? I wonder. I can pull it out at any time. It's better not there at all. My kids aren't allowed to, well, okay, I have an 8th grader and a 6th grader. 6th grader didn't have a phone yet. 8th grader has one with no social media, and he doesn't take it to school. No. And my line is, I care about your brain too much to do that to you.
What about listening to music? If you're in school listening to music, or if you're headed to sleep, trying to sleep, listening to music,
Okay, so
does it affect your brain negatively?
it depends. If it's like instrumental Mozart and you're studying, it tends to be okay. If you're actually listening to the words, it's multitasking, which I didn't get into. It's not good for your brain. It actually kind of makes some holes in a part of your brain you don't want holes in. During sleep, not if it's an excuse to bring your phone in. So go get a clock radio. And
There are other devices that do that, like what? Alarm clocks? Actual alarm clocks?
Like $12 at Target.
And then I don't even know what they're called. What, like boomboxes? I have an Echo Dot at home, that's what he says. Is it okay for me to use when I'm trying to fall asleep if it's instrumental music?
Yes, it would be better if it has some sort of a timer that goes off in like 45 minutes. Then yeah, that'd be fine.
Other questions? All right, one over here, just a second. I use a light noise machine. Is that right?
A white
noise machine. Would you recommend that over music?
I absolutely would, although there's something you'd like better, which is brown noise. So if you get a brown noise machine, or if it has a capability of brown noise, you'll sleep better. But white noise is better than music, and brown noise is better than white noise for sleep.
What's brown noise?
Brown noise is a lower resonance, and so it makes sure it slows down the brain waves. White noise is a higher resonance, and so it can keep your brain kind of going up here. Brown noise will bring it down here and make you go to sleep faster.
All right, last question. Yeah. Is connecting with people you don't know in real life or online a good or a bad thing? Can it be beneficial?
I think most things can be beneficial or not, depending on who they are. The problem becomes if they aren't who they say they are, or if you become more comfortable interacting with them over real life. And so people with social anxiety find people online, they feel more comfortable, but it actually makes real life harder because they're not practicing getting through the awkward of real life. So that's one of the, in moderation, as long as they don't break any rules that you don't want them to break.
Awesome. I love all your questions. That was great.
Good job.
Can we thank Susan again?